So good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gabe Keeler, and I'm Vice President of Strategic Accounts and Commercial Alliances at eValueServe, a leading research, analytics, and technology professional services organization. I'm joined today by a good friend of mine, Jim Donahue, and we are going to be very, very excited today talking about a key topic, which is classic strategies, modern techniques, and a modern revolution. The intersection of some very, very founded best practices with modern technologies and how that's reshaping marketing and strategy. But before I go further, Jim, why don't you take a minute to introduce yourself to our audience today and we can dive in?
Thanks, Gabe. I'm really excited to be here to discuss this fascinating topic. I see it as a really interesting intersection between some of the old best practices that we've used over the years and the opportunities really that AI will bring to the marketing function. I think the blending of the old with the new is really just a fantastic opportunity and something I look forward to discussing. My entire career has been in the energy space. 37 years with GE. I'm recently retired and really pursuing some new opportunities now since retirement.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jim, and really, really appreciate you being here today. And obviously, when it comes to this theme that we spoke about, fantastic industry subject matter expert to weigh in here, right? And I guess before I kind of dive into some of the key discussion points, I'll just sort of lay out this context, right? So I think everybody understands that good quality strategic marketing has been the backbone of successful business growth. Surely you have a lot of examples from that from your time at GE. What I think is interesting is that things continue to evolve on how we do that, right? And I think that's what we want to kind of dig into today is where and how AI and technology advancements are reshaping strategic marketing, but then also at the same time, where and how some of the traditional methods or best practices and really just inputs from smart people are still integrated into this overall process, right? So I think that intersection is what we'll try to unpack a little bit today, right?
Great, sounds
So
good.
yeah. Without further ado, Jim, I'll just jump into a big question to start, but very curious to hear your perspective as you were kind of going through your career at GE. How did some of these technological tools change the way you and your teams were approaching strategic marketing?
Yeah, Gabe, I'd say that for the most part during my tenure, we used a very I hate to say brute force approach, but in many respects it was a brute force approach. We spent a lot of time slogging through data, slogging through information that would come across in our feeds, and really trying to glean insights from all of that hard work. And I think that what that does is it gives you really an appreciation, a really deep understanding of a lot of the concepts and a lot of the issues that we're facing in the power industry. But there's AI, I think, opens an opportunity to really streamline a lot of that, and in particular with the data analysis and data crunching, if you will, really free up time for experts to take that information that AI may be providing, overlay that with their expertise, and then come up with even more meaningful insights.
Absolutely. No, that really resonates for me. The as you mentioned, the brute force method. It's I don't think it's necessarily gone away. It's just now with some of the tools and technologies that are there, maybe the forcing is a little bit easier, and then it's also enhanced, right, by some different feeds and things that are coming in. So I think this is more of a question, hopefully that the broader audience can benefit from your experience. Um, but what are some practical ways that you can see marketing leaders integrate some of these tools into their strategies? Um, and maybe as an add-on to that question, right? Like, um, how do you also maintain the sort of the human touch in all of these things so that you're not overwhelmed with kind of tool noise or just congestion?
Yeah, and I think it's really key, Gabe, that we don't lose that human element, that human side of it. I recently have been fooling around a little bit with the Google AI tool that creates a podcast, and it's a fantastic tool. It's just incredible how useful that is. Um, but I also find it interesting that at the bottom of the page, after it creates a podcast for you, it says, check the result. Basically, says check the results because there may be some errors in there. And I think that's where kind of the human element really comes in, because as useful a tool as it can be, um, it doesn't necessarily have some of the intuition and some of the kind of the insider baseball knowledge, that, if you will, that really brings those meaningful insights. And if you're in the practice of providing insights to your senior leadership team, it's important that you just don't regurgitate something that maybe AI generated for you, but again, overlay that with that human side, that intuition, that experience that really adds the flavor and the context to what the AI tool may have generated for you.
Yeah. No, that's very, very, I think, helpful insight, and also, talking from kind of an e-value serve perspective. We always have this kind of tagline of mind plus machine, right? I think they're
Yep.
inextricably linked to really getting to good quality insights, action, and then, ultimately value, right? So let's shift gears a little bit. Adoption, right? It's a question that also we get a lot from people in the field, right? So talk to us a little bit how you see the adoption of AI in marketing and strategy. And I guess what I'm kind of looking for is, did you see it as kind of a gradual, evolution over time, or when you had experiences with some of these technologies, was it more of like a full scale revolution, somewhere in between? Would be curious for your perspective on that.
Yeah, I would say it was probably somewhere in between. One of the things that we really valued with our relationship with a value serve was that mind and machine aspect of it. That we would have feeds that would come to us on a daily basis from some of your tools, but behind that we knew that folks had touched it, had looked at that, and made a yes no decision whether to send that along, whether they felt it was relevant. Because as you know, you can just get overwhelmed with feeds that are coming across. But if that human element of someone basically saying, yes, we think this is relevant for GE and we're going to pass this along to them, that I think is invaluable. And that may change over time, but I think that there is still that blending of the two that's really, really necessary and really, really valuable.
Sure, sure. I absolutely agree. And I think, again, just to layer in a little perspective, it's been few and far between that kind of these full on radical shifts. I've seen them be successful. I think kind of that gradual implementation, getting people comfortable with some of the results, then maybe going on to the next thing, right, is very, very important.
Yeah.
To get that adoption curve that you're looking for.
Yeah, I almost kind of compare it to, again, maybe I'm dating myself, but if you go back to the use of CAD in design,
Yeah.
my first engineering jobs, we had drafters sitting at a table at a drafting board with a pencil in their hand, and it took a while before people really trusted CAD. But now it's second nature. It's just something that everyone takes for granted, and I think that may eventually happen, be the same kind of path that AI takes. It may happen even faster with AI, given today's climate. But I kind of compare the two and see this as a shift, a gradual shift, somewhat. Maybe a little bit faster with AI than CAD, but similar in many respects.
Yeah. Yep. It's a really great juxtaposition there, Jim. So I'll jump to a new topic, just because I know we don't have unlimited time today. But I'm curious, from your perspective, there's so many. You talked about the podcast one. just as a great example. But there's just so many tools and technologies and accelerators in the market these days. It almost feels to me sometimes quite overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, from your experience, what was, did you experience maybe any challenges evaluating or thinking through what some of these technologies, which ones to pick, and any kind of golden nuggets of wisdom you can share with the audience on some best practices there?
Yeah, I guess the overwhelming aspect of it is there's no denying that. Everybody's kind of trying, especially at this stage of the game, everyone's trying to kind of carve out their niche, and that just kind of causes a lot of churn, a lot of I don't know what the right word is, but we spend a lot, especially for folks who are not necessarily as conversant with some of this. That just causes a lot of problems. And I think that what we have to do is we have to rely more on experts that can basically help to steer us and guide us and say, this tool is a good tool for these reasons. This one, maybe not so much. And I think at this stage of the game, there's still a little bit of that overwhelming feeling that there's just too much out there. And, maybe given time, some will fall by the wayside. But I think that we're kind of still in the phase of there's just too much out there, too much churn, too many options, and we really need some experts to help help us by weighing in on what some of the best tools are and why.
Got it. No, makes sense. So I think, just to kind of conclude our conversation today, Jim, we spent quite a bit of time on some of the technologies and their impact, but again, we also touched a little bit on the human element, and then there's also a process element to having a really good setup for strategic marketing, right, and insights. So any comments that you would have on what are some of the core fundamentals that basically always stay the same, regardless of the tools and technologies that you're using?
Yeah, I go back to experience. There's no substitute for experience, and a wide variety of experiences. That really is just invaluable in my opinion, and that's
Yeah.
what gives you that intuition where when something maybe comes across your desk or across your computer screen and it just doesn't smell right, and that's what years and years of experience developing that intuition really enables you to do, and just kind of raise the BS flag, if you will, and say
Yeah.
that this just doesn't seem right. And quite often when you kind of look under the hood, you're right. It just wasn't right. And I see. It's funny sometimes. I sit and watch the news with my wife, and something will come up, and I'll just kind of shake my head and say, "No, that's just not." What they just said is just not right. And it happens that, I happen to maybe be an expert in what they happen to be discussing, but that's the type of thing where I'm sure that experts in other fields are doing the same thing with something that I may not be conversant in. And
Yeah.
that experience and developing that intuition, there's really no substitute for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Very well put, Jim. I think the most powerful combination is that blend between having some fantastic tools at your fingertips, but then human intuition, right? And also, curiosity, right? To kind of
Yeah, good
keep
point.
unpacking things a bit further. And arguably, like you said, that intuition and curiosity comes from experience, right?
Yeah,
So,
I didn't talk about curiosity, but absolutely curiosity is a key element as well. Just
yeah,
that willingness, that desire to kind of go beyond the headline and kind of go deeper.
correct. No, this has been great, Jim. So thank you so much for your time today, and I'm looking forward
Welcome.
to continuing on with the rest of this series together. And really, again, for everyone today, just want to leave the kind of parting comment of really the notion that blending, some of the standard techniques and also really experienced people, like we talked about, with the AI tools and technologies, that is the way to kind of enhance capabilities. Again, it's almost no different than how we look at things now with the likes of a Microsoft Copilot or Google's Gemini offering, right? Any of these tools that just enhance, human capabilities and capacity is where the magic happens, as they say. So, thanks again for your time today, and I look forward to the next one.
Thanks for having me, Gabe. It's been a lot of fun.